Hello everybody, and welcome to part 13 of restoring the Lisa Marie, and I really appreciate the many people who have been along on this gutting and rebuild of the van. I've not done a video update for a while. I've had a couple live streams on the Rosie Murphy channel if you want to see real-time building here. So let's take a couple minutes and just update what is going on here. The first thing I want to show is, since the last time when I started putting the flooring down, we now have the top surface of finished marine plywood here in the coach, giving us a very good base to fix things to the floor. And of course, in this area we're going to be moving on to building a dinette into here, and yeah, that will be next on the project list, and then turning towards the electrical and the plumbing. I know it looks like an enormous ugly snake down here, which it is, and things will be neatened up and put away. The water pump will be moved. There's a lot of things going on in the coach here right now. But the main thing that we have now accomplished, besides putting the floor down, and I will be using a little bit of filler, there's a great material called Fix It All that is excellent for filling any gaps or anything that might transmit up to a finished surface. The nice thing about that is it does not shrink at all when it dries. So going back to the back of the coach again, the real challenge here was building a very strong bed frame that's able to support a lot of weight, and also designing it so most of the weight is transferred down to the floor. There's only a couple points that are affixed to the coach work here. This uses the ribs. A lot of the ribs have been cut out of this van, unfortunately. They were great points for fixing to, but some have been removed on this side, so it makes it particularly challenging. So with the design element, I originally wanted to build a single frame and try to fit it into the coach here, but it was not to be. So I had to bisect this into two parts, and then sister another 2x4 on each side to span this gap, and it's very strong. I'm using hex bolts that are countersunk here. Reason being is we need to finish this with a sheet of paneling on the back, and that will give a nice finished detail for the back of the coach. You'll also notice that the bed frame has a lip in it, and this lip will accommodate the plywood on top of it, the finished plywood on top of here, and using that allows the platforms, it's going to be a 3-section platforms here that can be removable, and they will not float around within the on top of the bed surface. So that's very important. Some other details that were put in, you can see some cuts had to be made, say around the gas tank fill and the wheel well. We had to be very careful of the gas tank, but everything is lagged up through the bottom of the coach, except some of these top support legs here. And I used some very long drywall screws to set these feet where possible. There's an outline here where you will see faintly where the water tank will be situated in the coach. So I had the provision in building for that. Some other features is these rafters in the middle are removable, which means if you have to access to work on the house heater or the battery compartment or any kind of wiring, or over here will be the water pump, then it will be very easy to remove the top sheets of the 3 top sheets of plywood or whatever you need to remove, and then have full and unfettered access to the sides to work on. There'll be some paneling It will have to be removed, but that will be about 6 small screws to hold that in place. No big deal. So it is very well supported in the middle. Of course, the bulk of human weight, it tends to be in the trunk. So this is deriving the most support. There will be an additional leg added over here, and there will be a closet put over next to close that gap over there, that some clothes can be hung and some shelving on top. I'm very glad that we removed the panels, because it took the guesswork out of figuring out where the ribs were. It's very hard to look through. It's impossible to look through a vinyl covering and see where they are. So this is extremely strong. I would guess this can easily accommodate 1,000 pounds, because it's not hooked to the exterior of the coach really, except for one point in here. There will there will not be an issue with the bed pulling in the side of the coach. As I said, most of the probably 90% of the weight here is designed to be distributed straight down, which is exactly what you want in the coach. So removing the rafters is a big key in having a lot of functionality. Paneling will be built, and then this whole section back to where the water tank stops right here will be storage where you can fit 2 bins under here. There'll also be additional storage. The water pump is going to be situated down here. There'll be long-term storage if you need it, if you need to remove a jack, things like that. So I'm very happy about the way this turned out. We raised the bed over a former outlet for the refrigerator to be hooked in. That's now covered over by the 2x4. So the refrigerator feed has now been designed so it incorporates an all-weather outlet box here in the refrigeration area. And the refrigerator can now plug in to the all-weather box, and it also gives you a chance to run an external appliance if you're doing outdoor cooking on a hot plate, or you want to plug in a stereo. You'll have the opportunity to do that. I painted this up a bit to give a little more protection, but that's really a nice all-weatherproof box that's mounted there. And I think that will give a lot of good service for the coach. So yes, the coach was level beforehand, very level. And building this out, let me see if I can grab my level. And a lot of people were surprised to see me using levels and plumb bobs to establish a level, but as you can see, let's get that bubble in place. We're right on the level mark there, and it's level across all surfaces. So I will be adding additional supports. I'm going to stop and move on to other framing. This will be detail work to add additional lipping around to accommodate the placement of the 1-inch plywood toppings on this, and it'll be finished off with some nice detail trim on top of it, so it'll look very attractive too. There will be the rear panel, as I said, put on here, and I think it should give a lot of functionality to the coach, and there'll never be an issue with weight, anything like that. I was able also to incorporate a little extra support underneath the refrigerator. This is a really strong piece of 3/4 inch, 1-inch composition board. I'm not a big fan of composition board, but it is lagged over there through the composition board with the appropriate spacers. You can see that I also armored the cable running into the back of the blue box, which is the electrical system. So I'm happy about the way that has come together, and like I say, I'm quite confident this could easily support 1,000 pounds on this frame here, and give the Marshall had asked a couple of requirements. Number 1, be safe. Number 2, that that the supports in no way penetrate or affix to the coach except where it makes logical sense on the rib. And number 3, that it has to be as large as possible. And you can see that this bed frame really is very large. It goes all the way back to the back doors and as close to the up to the refrigerator as possible, and thus giving also room on that side, as I said, to add a closet into that space there and put that up. We'll probably put a piece of plywood, remove this this piece of paneling here, and use that as a pattern for putting a back panel going up against the bed, and just put a piece of plywood on the internal there in place of what we removed. So there's a couple things that you can do to make things nice in terms of building out a closet with a hanger bar and maybe a few shelves in there too. So when all is said and done, whether it's wood or whatever, new panels will be fitted here. There will be probably new lighting. There's some fixtures that are dead in here. They have to be addressed, but electrical is going to be a whole separate issue. In addition, with all that being done now, and I think that that's a really good quality frame, Marshall has also been taking the opportunity to go through with 3 coats of compound and 3 or 4 coats of wax to bring the coach up to, and this is a great paint job that Ford used, and this is really incredibly smooth now, and it came up the colors. The original pearl paint came through very well. This large stripe, the main stripe of the coach, will be repainted. That will be an easy matter. But I think you can see the difference in the color between the 2 doors. So he's got a big job. It's taken a long time to do that, and then the fiberglass top has to be restored. There's just a lot of things to be done. The silicone has to be cut back to make it look as attractive as possible. I started doing that several weeks ago. So between the 2 of us, we're working hard on the coach. Restoration work is fun, but it's also very exacting. There are dangers of gas tanks, black tanks, and things down below. This has dual gas tanks. You have to be very careful. You can't just take wood screws or a drill and just go drilling into the floor, or you risk potentially explosion. There's propane lines running through there also, so a lot of things to be very, very careful of. So having said that, I'm going to wrap it up, and thank you guys for watching part 13 of restoring the Lisa Marie.